Liliana, you're here with Immortal Technique. Look at him over here. He's a big boxing fan, as you know. First of all, let us know your picks. Main event, Tim Tszyu versus Fundora, late replacement opponent. You gave your thoughts on the influencer roundtable, but let me know who you got, Tim Tszyu versus Fundora, and why.
I think it's a close fight. Tim Tszyu was preparing for someone much shorter than him, obviously. It throws a little monkey wrench into the plan, but irrespective of that, I think Tim Tszyu is a killer. And from what I've seen him do, I would give him the slight edge, but I won't count Fundora completely out. I would favor Tszyu to win, but Fundora is not the towering inferno for no reason. And even though he was stopped by Brian Mendoza, who's somebody that Tim Tszyu beat, I think the difference is that he was winning the majority of that fight. And then, he got hurt and he slipped and he got caught. And that could happen to anybody. As for Rolly and Pitbull, man, that might be the show stealer. That might be the co-main event that turns into the main event, because they have such an interesting back and forth. They're cursing each other out in Mexican and Cuban Spanish. It seems to be like an atmosphere of hype, so much hype around that. Obviously, Cruz is huge with the Mexican fight fans. They love that come forward energy, that kind of animalistic desire to destroy your opponent. And Rolly is just hysterical to be around. I mean, he definitely needs his own show.
We just saw you at the, virtual influencer roundtable. Can we expect to see you more in these boxing events, either with PBC or through yourself, just coming by and being around this mess?
I do a lot of the writing behind the scenes. I don't necessarily.
Where can we find that?
I don't necessarily do as much of the commentating, but I would love to. I don't mind commentating or talking about it. Obviously, there are people that are way more well-versed in terms of boxing history than I am, but it's something that I've always been a fan of, I've always been a supporter of, and so therefore I will not in any way, shape, or form count anybody out. And I give ultimate respect to all the fighters, irrespective of who I choose. It takes a lot of heart and a lot of determination, not just to choose the life of a fighter, but to then go through camp, be separated from your family for so long, to give up on your dreams, to ask your family to put their dreams on hold for yours, right? To say, hey man, I want you to tell our kids I'm not going to see them for a little while, and for people to understand that just because you're trying to chase a better life for them. So it says a lot about an individual.
Is that what turned you into a boxing fan, kind of the struggles behind the fighters themselves and what they put themselves through?
That's part of it. I think also boxing is one of those sports you can't play. You don't play boxing. Boxing is one of these sports that is it's unseemingly dangerous. People are like, oh, it's just a fight. I'm like, no, it's not. You could get killed there so easily. You could get wrecked, destroyed. So I think irrespective of how somebody feels about another fighter or something else, you always have to give credit where it's due.
Now we see that you're a big advocate for Palestine, but not just that, just huge support for social justice. In boxing, we hear a lot, keep politics out of boxing, or we want to have boxing as an escape, to not think about real life problems. What do you say to people to kind of get them a little bit of the mentality with, yes, we do need a break from the real world, but at the same time, how do we push people to advocate for that?
When I was getting into politics, I got out of prison and I came home and I was just reading nothing but history and political books. My father sat down with me and he said, once in a while you just have to read a novel or something to get your mind off the blood and gore of the world. And I said, no, you're right. He goes, that way you can recharge your battery and go back. So I understand the necessity to escape and to understand that, but there's no escaping an ongoing genocide that exists now. And whether it's MMA fighters or other people that have shouted out that in the ring, they're not wrong for doing that. They just almost killed another person, they won a fight. They have the right to say whatever the fuck they want to say. If they want to make a comment about that, how can someone disrespect them for that? They're speaking up for people that they see that can't fight back for themselves, right? They're seeing 13,000 dead children that are being bombed by an army that we're supplying. You know, we constantly hear the phrase Iran-backed Hamas. We don't ever hear the phrase U.S.-backed Israel, which would be a lot more correct, because in that case, you know, Israel can't conduct a war the way it's doing now without the explicit help of the United States, and not in just complicity by not jumping in and doing anything, but rather in a come forward motion, to use a boxing term, of being a partner in that genocide, being a person who's a financial partner, a military partner, in every other way, shape, or form. So, you know, fuck them. That's disgusting to me. And to the people who say, well, why should I care? I'm not asking people to care. I'm saying that if something happened to your child, right? Imagine how you would feel. And then you have to hear the quotes from history. You know? I know that people aren't a fan of communism and Joseph Stalin, but he did say some interesting things. He said, one person's killing is a murder, and a million people's death is a statistic. And we cannot fall into that trap. We cannot just be like, oh, these dead Palestinian children are a statistic. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it. Some people are like, oh, but every criticism of capitalism and every criticism of the status quo of the United States cannot automatically be attributed to wokeism or communism. Sometimes it's just a criticism. You know, you can't call everybody that says that you're terrible at singing a hater. At some point, you got to look in the mirror and say, hey, am I really good at singing? Or, you know what I mean? Is it everybody else, or is it me? Right? So I think that's kind of where people are with that.
Thank you so much for using your platform. I do want to ask if you do want to share where you write your boxing stuff, and if you do want to share your writing or anything.
I don't write boxing stuff. It's just I do like movie and TV.
Yeah. We know about your movie and music.
They come here and they've asked me to potentially develop.
Can we see you? Can we expect you?
Well, we'll see. I'm more behind the scenes, but if we do that, I would love to present the shows, and you know what I mean. It's just coincidence that Amazon Prime is here, so we'll see how that works out.
All right, thank